Welcome to the Tokyo Democracy Forum, Day 1. This is a country session. We talk about civic space and COVID-19 in Asian countries. Actually, this is a part of a Happiness Idea Conference, which is organized by Japan and the Center for International Cooperation. And my name is Aoi Horiuchi. I'm a moderator for today's sessions. I'm an advocacy coordinator of Japan and the Center for International Cooperation. Welcome once again to Tokyo Democracy Forum. We will have 2 days session with more than 14 speakers all across Asian regions. I'm going to briefly talk about introductions for the sessions, background and objectives, brief history of Democracy Forum, and also programs for 2 days on Monday 15th and tomorrow, Tuesday 16th February. And we will present guiding questions to all the presenters, and basically the presenters will answer those questions. And you are also able, all the audiences are able to send questions and comments to presenters. I will explain about it later. So background and objectives of this Democracy Forum. Some of you have already attended the Kathmandu Democracy Forum, which was held online in November 2020. And presenters are expected to focus on civic space, human rights SDGs, how those issues were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic in respective countries and regions. And presenter will also review and discuss progress and challenges between November 2020 and January 2021. And today is a country session, but tomorrow it's a thematic session. So the presenter will discuss about migrant workers, media freedom, democratic elections, and there are many democracy forums in this world, but as our journey started in Busan 2018, and since then, the Ulaanbaatar Democracy Forum was held in 2019, and Kathmandu Democracy Forum 2020. We call it a global one, although we have a regional democracy forum, which was held in Tokyo 2019 and Busan again 2019. And last year, Busan also hosted third democracy forum. And this year, Tokyo Democracy Forum is today and tomorrow. And in May, Gwangju Democracy Forum is expected to happen this year. So this is a brief history again. As I called it a global democracy forum, which was hosted by Community of Democracies, or Asia Development Alliance, or Asia Democracy Network, and the Republic of Korea. The regional democracy forum is hosted by regional civil society like JANIC or Busan Democracy Forum in 2020. So this is a program for 2 days. And today, as I said, is a country sessions. We welcome a presenter from Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, and Cambodia, Singapore, Kazakhstan, and Japan. And we hear comments from experts and the Q&A wrap-up. And tomorrow, it's a thematic sessions. We hear presenters on democratic elections, inequality, media freedom, and migration in ASEAN and Asia. And again, we hear comments from experts, and we have a wrap-up for 2 days. So here's the guiding questions for country sessions. I think all of you have already received an email of this, but I'm just showing this for reference. So the presenters are asked to answer those questions, such as how the COVID-19 affected civic space or civic freedom in your countries, or has human rights framework or SDGs been useful addressing the impact of COVID-19, and also concrete suggestions for international cooperations and solidarity. So this is a guiding questions for thematic session tomorrow. So as we hear 9 presentations today, and each thematic presenter will answer those 4 questions. So before we go to the first round of presenters, we hear the regional perspective, or regional overview on Asia. But before that, let me briefly explain how to send comments and questions to presenters. Go to slide.com, sli.po, then enter HAPIC, HAPIC, and select number 10, Tokyo Democracy Forum for today, and 22 for tomorrow. So you can write questions and comments, and if possible, specify who you want to ask. If you're watching this program via Event Hub, you can also write your comments via Event Hub. But if you're watching this program by Vimeo, you have to go to slide, sli.po. Okay, let's go to the regional perspective of COVID-19, civic space, human rights, and SDGs in Asia. The presenter is Mr. Anselmo Lee, regional coordinator of APSD. So Anselmo, the floor is yours.
Okay, can you allow me to upload? Can you make me co-host?
Okay. I think you can do that.
Okay. Okay, can you see the screen? Okay, so thank you very much for inviting me to make a presentation. So my job is to help participants to understand the context of where we are discussing now COVID-19, democracy, and the civic space, in other words, the civil society. So I'm not going to give any the statement or conclusion, but providing the basic data, internationally comparable data, so that while listening to the presentation, you can develop your own ideas, and then so that this can be the basis for further discussion. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Anselmo, we can
It's
hear
okay,
you.
I can continue, yep. Okay, so content about the impact of COVID-19 in Asia with a focus on 9 countries, because we are going to have a 9-country presentation, and democracy and civic space, and the linkage between the democracy and civic space. And then lastly, correlation between among COVID-19, democracy, civic space, and economic human development, in other words, SDG. It's about more than 30 slides, but this is a very self-explanatory. So I'm going to mention briefly here and there so that you can read through while you are listening to me. Okay, so these are the 9 countries. Kazakhstan from Central Asia. We have 5 from South Asia, 2 from Southeast Asia, 1 from Northeast Asia. That is a Japan host country. So these are statistics about confirmed deaths and also confirmed cases, total population. And next one is world average. The 1 month ago, 10th of January, the world average confirmed deaths was 248. All the Asian countries, 30 countries are below world average. Hello? Hello, can you hear me? It's okay, can I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. And then unfortunately, many other countries, particularly Europe and Northern America, they are above the world average. So in generally, we can say, Asian government performance or Asian civil society performance was relatively much better than other part of the world. But within Asia, you can see the difference between South Asia, Southeast Asia, and Northeast Asia, Central Asia. And this is an infographic about 30 countries. So red means high number of confirmed deaths. The green is very low, For instance, Timor-Leste, Laos, Cambodia, and Bhutan, Taiwan, Mongolia, these are the best countries in terms of the number of deaths. The red means higher, but nevertheless, it's all below world average. So now there is a very interesting research institution, Lowy Institute in Australia. They just published this data out of 98 countries, so-called COVID-19 performance indicators. They put these 6 criteria: confirmed cases, deaths per million, and also the number of tests. So these are the 6 index. And then they did produce a lot of interesting data. So this is a 9 country. So very interesting over time from January up to January this year, almost 1 year. Some country in the beginning performance was not very good, but getting better, For instance, Singapore is very interesting. From the case 1, in the middle, now Singapore is one of the best in terms of performance. And then Sri Lanka, Kazakhstan, and then Pakistan, and Japan is in the middle. So this is according to Lowy Institute, the assessment. So from their assessment data, Sri Lanka was number 1, average 76, followed by Singapore, Japan, Kazakhstan, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, India. So when you make a presentation or when you listen to presentation, we need to interpret from this COVID Lowy Institute data. Of course, it's not 100% the perfect, but they have their own selected criteria, so you have to take that into account. And democracy in Asia. So there is a famous democracy index by economists. They just also published this report the last month, and they divide the country into 4: full democracy, flow democracy, hybrid, authoritarian. And these are definition of 4 types of the democracy. And these are basic data index. So last 5 years, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, some country going down, some country going up. So you can check the data, your own country. I highlighted 9 countries in red. So this is an infographic. For instance, very interesting, Taiwan was the only country in Asia, full democracy, recognized full democracy this year. And then Japan and South Korea, But India was a full democracy and then going down, last 5 years going down. And then you see the slight change, the within 5 years in each country. And then this also another way of showing the infographic. For instance, Taiwan is going up. So you can see the final result 2020. So Japan is top among 9 countries, and India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Singapore, and Nepal, Pakistan, Kazakhstan, and Cambodia. And then this also another way of looking at democracy index, the 4 sub-regions. Relatively, Northeast Asia higher except North Korea, and followed by Southeast Asia. But Southeast Asia between 2, half flow democracy, half authoritarianism, and also South Asia as well, But generally Central Asia, general low than other sub-regions. And this is a global map of the democracy index. Now civic space by Civicus Monitoring. I'm sure you are very familiar with this one. And then they have 5 categories: the open, narrowed, obstructed, repressed, and closed, with the 5 different colors. So you can see again, Central Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, Northeast Asia, we have 9 countries in bold. And then very similar to democracy, Northeast Asia is relatively higher, and the Southeast Asia, South Asia. So this is a global map about civic space. Red, Taiwan is only green, and Japan, South Korea light green, and yellow and brown, and so on. And then very interestingly, democracy in civic space not automatically corresponding. This is very interesting. For instance, if you look at this data, democracy means more formal institution, but civic space, this is about freedom of association or assembly. Green, that means open. And then, but democracy is float or hybrid. For instance, look at India. India is a dark brown, that means a repressed, and the flow democracy. And then Cambodia is authoritarian and repressed. So in terms of civic space, India and Cambodia same, But according to democracy, India belongs to flow democracy, Cambodia belongs to authoritarian. This is according to data by economists and civicus. So you can try to explain why such a difference, what does it mean, what are the implications in your presentation and also during the debate. And lastly, correlations among COVID-19 democracy and economic and human development. So I put all the data in one. You can see it's a COVID-19 and GDP and also human development index. Some country, human development index very high, but not necessarily COVID-19 performance is very good. So this is the data of all the nine participating countries. So COVID-19 out of 219, that is according to Worldometer. The 100 means it's a number of confirmed deaths. The higher number is better performance. For instance, Cambodia 2 or 3, that means good performance. Number of confirmed deaths is very low, And then Singapore, also very good. Sri Lanka, so this is the order according to number of confirmed deaths. But this COVID-19 second one out of 98, this is a low institute Australia. The higher number means poor performance, opposite. And then democracy, also higher number means a poor performance. For instance, democracy, Japan is top 21, and civic space also narrowed. So I will show you the next according to different criteria. Civic, this is according to Worldometer confirmed data. That means Cambodia is the best according to Worldometer, and Singapore, Sri Lanka. And next one is according to COVID performance, Sri Lanka is the best, and Singapore and Japan. Next one, according to democracy, Japan is the top, India and Sri Lanka and Singapore, Nepal. This is the order. Next one is civic space. Japan is only country among 9, narrowed, and then Singapore, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Kazakhstan obstructed, the rest repressed. But according to GDP, of course, Singapore is the highest, and Japan, this is the order, Kazakhstan. So you can compare from, in terms of GDP, what are the correlations between GDP and COVID-19 democracy civic space? And lastly, Human Development Index. Singapore is the highest among Asian 9 countries, followed by Japan, Kazakhstan, and Sri Lanka. Okay, so this is the basic internationally comparable data, which can help you to understand different contexts and how we can identify the challenges and gaps, and also how we can develop international action according to this data. Of course, these data need more in-depth understanding and analysis and interpretation, which is a job of 9 presenters and also discussion and also tomorrow. So thank you for listening. I hope this is useful for your discussion.
Thank you, Anselmo, for your presentations. So we now see the regional overview in Asia in terms of civic space, human rights, and SDGs, and also COVID-19. So I'm again showing the guiding questions for country session once again. And so we're going to hear the answers from 9 presenters. The first part is South Asian countries. So we welcome Dr. Zaman from Bangladesh, Arjun Phillips from India, Poom Bandari from Nepal, and Zia ul Rehman from Pakistan, and Isha Miranda from Sri Lanka. So are you ready for the presenters from South Asian countries? So judging from the results of the COVID-19, number of deaths, confirmed cases, what are the key factors that impact of COVID-19 on people's lives and human rights? Or how has the COVID-19 affected civic space or civic freedom in your countries? Has civic space been shrinking? If so, why and how and why? Has human rights framework and or SDGs been useful in addressing the impact of COVID-19 in your countries? If yes, also why? And what are your suggestions for international cooperation and solidarity in order to tackle the ongoing challenge to the COVID-19 issue among governments and CSOs? Or maybe we can also speak about the vaccinations issues. So, of course, we can also add comments from the reaction to the Anselmo's presentations. But let's start with Dr. Janan from Bangladesh. What was yours?
Okay, thank you, He. And firstly, I would like to convey our heartiest gratitude to include us. And according to the first question, the guiding questions, and according to the recent data of Bangladesh from last day, that means 14 February, the total number of deaths now reached 8,000 and more, and the death rate stands at 1.53%. And our total infected case is 540,000 and more, and the total number of recoveries is standing 487,000 and more, and the recovery rate is 90.13%. And considering the trend analysis of the COVID-19 situation in Bangladesh, the first case identified on 8 March. Initially, it has increased limitedly, but from the mid-May 2020, the positivity rate significantly increased. And the third week of August, positivity rate stands at more than 20%. And from the fourth week, the rate is decreased, but from the month of November, again, the situation is deteriorated. That means positivity rate is increased. Very fortunately, from the month of December, the positivity rate decreased, and from last 4 weeks, positivity rate less than 5%. And the current rate is 2.53%, and while the total positivity rate stands 14.05%. And I just added some information that Bangladesh has already started the vaccination from the 7th February 2021, and it has mass vaccination program through the appropriate measures by the government of Bangladesh. And according to the yesterday data, almost near about 1 million people have already covered through this vaccine. And initially, people have some anxiety regarding the vaccine, the vaccine locally known as Covishield, that is Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. But now situation is improving through the positive role of the media and the others. People are very much interested. And according to the recent and independent study, almost 66% and more people, they are very much interested to receive this vaccine. And if we are talking about the situation regarding the impacts of the COVID-19 on the peoples, yes, the right to health and SDG, the key issue, still now the healthcare system is Bangladesh need to more attentive for the poor people and grassroots in terms of the inequality issue. And we are very much suffering within the COVID period and the other cases other than COVID. And right to education is still now a big question, because still now our educational institutions are not open, and it has closure from March 2020, and more than 4 crore students are suffering. But we feel that is the right time to open the school, because due to the poverty and the closure of the educational institutions, one of the major risks of the extreme poor children to excluded from the education and turn to the child labor and dropout. And in terms of the right to food, the extreme poor people, government has opened many food subsidy and social safety net program, but that is not covered all over the poor people, and it has also observed some corruptions, and government try to overcome this situation. And right to work, that is one of the major concern of this country, because one of the major portion of the country's people, they are working the overseas, and due to the COVID situation, a significant number return to this country, and that migrant workers, they are still now facing the problem. And in terms of the inequality in Bangladesh, the poor people, especially the ethnic minorities and others, the grassroots people, they are always suffering and excluded from the different services. And in terms of the gender, yes, the gender vulnerability, the oppression of women, it has increased within the COVID period. And some special group like the slum dwellers, the prisoners, the refugees, and the Dalits, the Adivasis, the LGBT people, and the older people, they are also suffering, and they are also impacted through the COVID situation. And it should be needed to good integration, coordination, communication in between the government and other stakeholders like the civil society, the other practitioners, to close relation to overcome the situation. And now that is the right time to develop a way out to overcome the past crisis, and in future appropriate plan to address the SDGs properly. Thank you, Ivy.
Thank you, Dr. Dhanam, for the presentations. Isha Milanda from Sri Lanka would like to present for in the second slot. So before going to hear about from Arjun Felix, India, we would like to welcome Isha from Sri Lanka. So Isha,
yeah. Can you hear me, all of you?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I have some audio issues, so I can't show my video. But let me start with Sri Lanka. Thank you so much to Tokyo Forum Documentary Democracy Forum, because it's a very important situation that we are talking about today. Sri Lanka has changed since yesterday. We are in a position of COVID in a very bad situation. Already we have 75,000 has been detected. And today we have an issue with the COVID plus a virulent flu, which came from UK, is spreading very fast. So that is why our death total is rising. Yesterday, every day we have 5 to 6 death totals. Now it has reached to up to almost 400. Daily COVID patients are gone up to 900 to 1,000. If you keep on testing, I think we'll be more than that. So this is the other situation we are facing in Sri Lanka at the moment. But nevertheless, the health and the COVID task force is very much containing on the old system, which system that we developed called cluster basis. At the moment, from today morning, from 5 o'clock in the morning today, we are checking the flu spreading, how it is spread, and what are the changes it's making to the existing COVID patients and already had COVID patients who are already at home resting. So they have found some flu is coming from them too. So this is the situation in Sri Lanka at the moment. And in terms of the collaboration, coordination, all the hospitals are open for COVID patients. Even private hospitals are open for COVID patients to who have in the first or second symptoms. They can enter the private hospital in a separate area, which will be conducted under the government guidelines. So that is the other thing. And also all the hospitals have given full access to the ambulance services, where they had to serve every citizen, no matter what, whether they have money or not, the government will spend most of the time, and they have to take care of the COVID patients according to the government rules. So this is one of the good and the bad area. In terms of the freedom, in terms of vaccination, we already got free vaccination from India, and which we have developed, which we have given to all the government frontline officers. At the moment, till yesterday, it's almost 190,000 government officers are taken, but more to give this week. We are expecting a large sum of vaccination from the from WHO and also the suppliers. Issue is we have asked more than 3 to 4 million vaccination, but the supply chain and the production line is getting slow. So it is a huge problem to the whole world. where Sri Lanka concerned, we are also facing, because we don't know what is the waiting line is. So we don't know when we are going to get the vaccination. So that's a huge miss. And we all know the countries in the world, rich countries, they have bought bulk of vaccination, which is oversupply. And then the people like us, African country, Asian countries, we need the vaccination. It's not happening the way we wanted. But hopefully we're hoping to get the vaccination in month of March. And we are going to start from Western province, where the more victims are there. In terms of human rights, actually, other than the political rights, when you come to the health, we are actually equally given the human rights, and we equally respected the people rights of the health. Everybody can walk into the government hospital, no matter whether it's a citizen of the country or is a visitor of the country, can walk into the government hospital and get their COVID tested done free of charge in government hospitals. And other hospitals, they charge something like maximum $10 for the test. They have every right to go, and every doctor have right to serve every citizen. So this is something that is given. Vaccination is going to have a listing basis. Most of they are given to vaccination, other than the frontline, those who are over 65. And then they also have a system called vaccination reaction, which is they are going to monitor what reaction going to get it. So that as a separate department already had been given as a research and investigation to go to the vaccination reaction. When you come to the other than the human rights, yeah, we're facing more problems in human rights. We are going to face a UNHCR session in February 22nd. We are in a kind of a crucial situation in the politically and especially in politics. Economically, we are going down. But still, the government is open the country, even the airports are open. So, and health is always behind the cluster-wise to see where we headed. Because we have to open the economy, because 70% of our population work on SME and daily basis wages. So they have to open. We cannot keep on feeding. There's no money to keep on feeding because there's no income. And there's a reason that economy open for Sri Lankans, mostly because of the situation that we are facing in the supply, ports, the harbor, all those places are victims of the COVID. So the labor is less, existing labor have exhausted, they cannot do that. Military cannot go on working on the harbor area because they are already in the COVID. So this is a huge issue, and therefore the government opened the economy, and in the tourism is open. Yesterday, we got about 3,500 tourists arrive from various countries on a bubble system, where the hotels are having a COVID-style tourism, which actually helped us to start thinking, coming up in the bookings, because last week we had potential booking for 10 to 15,000 tourists come to Sri Lanka from various countries. Of course, they have a system called COVID system, testing, retesting, and also the hotels are only occupied by the tourists, and the staff will be rotated by the 15-day, 14-day quarantine system to get the foreign exchange to our country, just to get the country going. And one of the worst hit area was our plantation sector, because most plantation sectors are having COVID-19 and they are unable to work, and the crop has to pluck as tea, cannot keep it for a long time. So this is the other issue, that we are losing 25 to 30% of our revenue because of the COVID-19 issue. When it comes to equality, health, I will no doubt, I will say we are equally distributing. But when you come to the other area, when you come to the civil service, civil society, it does not actually involved with the COVID-19 task force or anything that matter. They are basically not operating with that. But nevertheless, most companies and some grassroots level civil society start looking at helping the victims, especially people who are quarantined, to help them their food and their other well-being areas to be take care of it. So that is happening. In terms of education, schools are...
Please, you have to wrap up in 1 minute.
Yeah, the education, last bit education, we all schools are closed. And with the new viral flu, it's happening. I don't think we'll be opening the schools till next year. I cannot think of that. So I think situation at the moment, COVID-wise, we are not doing well. Economy is having problems, but still, Sri Lanka is open for business and they opened all the way. So I think We don't know. Potentially, I hope everything's going to be fine in 2022. Thank you so much, Tokyo.
Thank you, Isha. Thank you for your concerns about new variant of COVID-19, which is happening right now. Okay, so let's move on to the third presenters from India, Mr. Arjun Kulik. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Avi. Thank you for Tokyo Democracy Forum for inviting me and Vani to be part of this very important event. And I'll be sharing a presentation for you on the relational aspects between COVID-19, civic space, and democracy in India. So as you can see, the assessment of COVID-19 in India is varying since we are dealing with 3 months, categorically speaking, from 1st October to 31st December. There's been marked decrease in the data for number of cases that has been there and the number of daily deaths that are taking place. You can see, you can discern that on 15 December there were about 22,000 cases, and now they have come to about 21,000 on 31st December, and it is daily decreasing, but COVID lingers on. Right now, I was just reading in the national dailies that Mumbai, which was an epicenter, a hotspot for COVID-19, has actually seen a surge in cases, and now this is taking place again. And this is worrisome because not only are we struggling with bad economy, which was pulled down by a lockdown, and then social, and then we had a very crippling situation with regards to unemployment. But now we are also dealing with a new strain of COVID-19 when we have rolled out a vaccination program also. So COVID-19 in India, if you see, it introduced two challenges. One was a health challenge, which made us grapple with a strained health infrastructure, because India, as you know, spends very little on its health infrastructure. It's about minimal 1 to 2% of its GDP that is being spent on health. Then there's an economic challenge, which was plummeting economic indicators due to imposition of a lockdown, which has actually affected the macroeconomic situation of India. The lockdown, if you know that the lockdown was a serious impediment, it was a 4-month period in which large sections of populations were not allowed to venture out. Employment of daily wage earners and people who were actually on subsistence economic workers had been affected grossly by the lockdown. There were directives that were issued by the government for offices to remain closed, and this hindered the important delivery of public goods such as food, shelter, schooling for those who are living on the margins of society. And of course, the lockdown was severe in affecting the supply chain of essential services when the government had made clear directives that the services will not face any problems. And this has continued, and we are still reeling under this challenge. The effect of the lockdown is that the lives of 360 million people has been affected. It has pushed in unemployment among salaried and labor classes. It has affected employment and livelihood of women, and supply chain has been affected to poor, marginalized, dependents, and the weaker sections of society. What were the health measures? As I said in the opening remarks, that we have a very small percentage of GDP that is actually being spent on health. So India was already endowed and had this strained health infrastructure. And there was periods in which there were surges in COVID-19, and many people had to actually be accommodated outside hospitals. There were patient rights which were being violated, and there were undue advantages that were being taken up by the government, by sections of the medical fraternity for in lieu of some reward. And June and July were very difficult months, followed by November, in which there was complete lockdown, and you had surge in cases. But now, because of quarantine and other isolation measures that were taken up by the government, it has been controlled. Plasma therapy was something which was actually innovated by India, and it has actually helped in recoveries. And fatality rate actually remains very low when compared to other countries and other parts of the region. Uh, there was I'll skip the testing, but as you know that we had two testings that were used, and now we have about 11 lakh cases. Uh, this is about 10 million cases that have been confirmed across India. These were the tests that were being done, and there were concerns raised upon the quality of tests and isolated cases, as I've said, patient rights and violations and discrimination that was faced during testing. This is the number of testing that has increased from April 2020 to January 2021, according to the data put out by Worldometers. The state of vaccinations, India has developed two vaccines. One is COVID Shield by Serum Institute of India, and the other is Covaxin by Bharat Biotech. The first batch of these vaccines have been administered to frontline health workers, defense and paramilitary forces, and then gradually it will be given to politicians, administrative officers, and then percolate to the general public. Over 66 lakh have received vaccine in India, and this is the largest vaccination program. I think you must have read in the newspapers that India is also supplying its, as a part of its Global South cooperation, it is also supplying vaccine to other least developed countries like Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and now even Global North has engaged India in sharing this vaccine. Canada showed interest in having these vaccines deployed in their country. There were some basic concerns which are still there, they're prevalent, and these concerns on vaccination are related to the trials and efficacy results. Somewhere there were news coming inside from the grassroots that there were non-consent of individuals which had in the vaccination trials, which had resulted in the death of one person. It's a chargeable vaccine, it's not free. So the base price of each vaccine, which has been quoted, because right now it is being administered to health workers and also it is relatively free, it is all paid out by the government expenditure. But availability to general public is that the charge is somewhere about $13.73. The basic question is how will
Arjun,
the
you
yeah.
have to wrap up in 1 minute.
Yeah, I'll just 2 minutes and I'll wrap it. There are concerns about how will majority people access the vaccine and will it be rolled out for general public. State of democracy, there was a concern raised to the parliamentary functions where the parliament was not allowed to function by the ruling government, and there were some ordinances passed which resulted in the farmer protest, which has still lingered. Um, Lockdown also ensured that extraordinary powers were concerned. Dalits suffered the most during this period. There were that access to justice was stopped, and women, tribal, and other marginalized sections of society also had this issue. We have a functioning independent system. The PM Care is the fund that was actually instituted for giving services to people for, it was a fund that was instituted by the Prime Minister, is still shrouded in secrecy, and there is no non-transparency upon how its expenditures is rolled out. Media was affected, a lot of fake news that was going around. There were isolated cases of curtailing media, and there was non-transparency in laws, especially with access to information. Civil society has been very, looking forward to helping during the pandemic. It was made known by the Supreme Court of India, but they were involved in food and health relief work, raised working capital for small businesses, and ensured that vulnerable marginalized communities become empowered. Assessment, if you assess the civic space, we had a very tightening regulatory regime. The FCRA, the act that relates to the grant of foreign funding to Indian organizations has been strictly closed. It is kind of now strengthened its loop around organizations. So the channels have been closed for fundraising and from outside. Fundraising locally has been actually, it has suffered. Income tax has also been suffering. So regulatory regime of the civil society has been very tough for organizations, and it has grossly affected their operability. Our recommendations to the government are there, and I will not touch more upon it because I think in consideration of the time, it can be referred to in the study report. But I'll suggest one thing for the TDF, that if we can collectivize around SDGs and COVID-19, and of course bridge some working coalitions on how to manage vaccines from the local, region, and global level. Thank you, Avi.
Thank you, Arjun, for your concrete recommendations. So we have two more presenters. First from Nepal. Please make a comment in 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, good morning and good afternoon. Hello, namaste to everyone. I think it's time. Is it my time?
Yes, it's your time.
Okay, so I'll just, I'm Hum Bhandari from NGO Federation of Nepal. I'm trying to make a brief presentation about the situation of Nepal, its civic space, human rights, and the management of COVID-19 cases in Nepal. So in case of Nepal, coronavirus cases in Nepal peaked at October, and since October, in October the cases anyway, so far the cases are over 266,000. But after October, when the coronavirus cases peaked at, since then, the cases have been declining, and new daily cases reached as high as 5,700. But recently, the daily cases are just a few hundred, and Nepal constantly had over 20 deaths when at the peak time. But it's good that now the occurrence of death is not that big, and it's not a daily case anyway. Fortunately, the damage to the life and economy seems less than anticipated, but the pandemic has exposed the weak health system and inherent inequalities that exist in Nepalese society. Firstly, the testing facilities, then health response support system, they really determine the capacity control and reduce the possibilities of death. So government's commitment to protect human lives, available public infrastructure, system and resources, as well as social security and safety nets determine how hard the people were hit and were affected. But however hard the disasters like this hit our societies, I think responsive and accountable governments seem to reduce the harm to life and livelihood. But although this is in principle, this is required, but in Nepal, we didn't really observe that we had strong systems and government's readiness to be really committed to human rights and protect the lives of the people. Now, the recovery rate in Nepal is over 98%, which is the highest among South Asian countries. Giving definite reasons behind this is quite difficult, really. But I'm not ready to accept that it is because of really effective measures of our system to control the virus, and it just happened, and it's anyway a good thing. So lockdowns, when we had in initial days, when we had lockdowns and restrictive measures and to constrain to control the pandemic, that situation really constrained the civic space and freedom, the right to move, from one place to another, right to work. They were really limited, and because of the fear, because of the restrictions, it was really impossible to assemble, to demonstrate, to have their say. We had many cases of the government, where the restrictive measures were put. First was used to contain, to suppress the peaceful demonstrations, and there were numerous cases in which the media was controlled, and it was really difficult to get the right information actually. So it will take a long time for the people who have lost their livelihoods and who have lost their jobs to recover and to come out of this crisis. And although we are opening up now, it will take really time for the people who are vulnerable and who have very weak support systems. And I believe that there should be a balance between the protection of human rights and civic cooperation also is necessary anyway. So when there are crises, and when we really need restrictions, civic cooperation is also necessary anyway. Likewise, I also want to say that in Nepal, civil society continuously raised concerns about providing relief to the people who were most affected, increase the testing, and being sensitive to the needs of women, children, older people, and also civil society demanded the government to be transparent and accountable in its response to COVID-19. So we had many, during the lockdowns, concerns of pregnant women, and apparently we had increasing maternal mortality rate, and they were really concerning. And currently, we are really open, and almost everything has opened. But what seems a bit more concerning is that when we have very few cases, and we have a lot of political demonstrations, and we have some kind of political instability increasing, and we are really concerned that this kind of situation should not overshadow the prevention, response, and recovery from COVID-19. At this moment, let's hope that another wave of pandemic would not come again. But now the focus now should be on the vaccination, actually. So Nepal government needs to expedite the process and initiatives to acquire vaccine adequate for all. And thanks to India and China, which are providing vaccines to Nepal, but at the same time, rich nations must support countries like Nepal to immunize its population. And also, finally, I want to say that support of the international community is essential to recover better and expedite the progress on SDGs. Thank you, Aoi.
Thank you, Kun. Thank you for your presentations, which is in difficult situations. Thank you. So the last presenter is Zia from Pakistan. Zia, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Aoi, for inviting me this very important Tokyo Democracy Forum. As far as Pakistan is concerned, we have a large population, like around 220 million people. In Pakistan, during the COVID, around only 8 million people were tested. Because of the testing capacity in Pakistan, the per day testing capacity is around 31,000, and we have only 154 labs. So you can imagine this large population. However, around 559,000 cases were confirmed, and out of that, about 516,000 were recovered. The death rate is very low due to many reasons, which is around like 12,185 people died during this. The age, which I should mention, 61 to 70 years, the people who died more out of this age, 61 to 70 and 71 to 80, they were died most. So this age people were having more mortality. Male were more died than female, 68% male and 32% female. Only one transgender died during this whole crisis. In Pakistan, as far as the region is concerned, we are behind Bangladesh and Afghanistan. Bangladesh and Afghanistan are doing better. However, as per the confirmed cases and death toll, we are behind both of these countries, but we have performed better as compared to Iran and India. The reason is that 70% of the population of Pakistan is young, so they actually responded better. The obesity rate in Pakistan is 8%, so that is also one of the contributing factor. We have a large population which is actually based in rural areas. More than 70% population is living in rural areas, so that is also one of the contributory factors towards the better response to the COVID-19 crisis. As far as the policies are concerned, I think the government actually did a very good job. They have constructed, they have established national Command and Operation Center, NCOC. The smart lockdown approach was followed. The economy was kept open. Then the civil society was engaged, and then stimulus programs were also announced. Interestingly, when it comes to the availability of vaccine, we see that around the world what is happening. In only 14% people who live in the developed world, they have already procured 53% of the total vaccine which is available. So this is a kind of like inequality. In Pakistan, when we come, we see that for 220 million population, 100 million people are below the age of 18 that actually do not need that immediate need of the vaccines, but immediately we need vaccine for 120 million. For now, I think we received 500,000 vaccines from China, which is like a gift from China. And we are expecting another 500,000 vaccines from China. However, we need 14 million vaccines for the age above than 60 and 6 million doses for the frontline health workers. So it's a huge requirement. The Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan has allowed Sputnik 5, which is from Russia, and then Oxford, AstraZeneca, and then Sinopharm from China. All the vaccines are about to come. Sinopharm has already come. But interestingly, what has been actually shared in Pakistan, and I've been reading the newspapers saying that all the three vaccines are having less effective. The efficacy rate is very low as compared to the Moderna. So its whole politics is going on. Pakistan is the first country in the whole world that has already allowed the sale of vaccine in our markets. So next week, the vaccines, all sorts of vaccines will be available in Pakistan. So those who can purchase, they can have that. But the issue is that this availability of vaccine free for all is not being actually practiced by the government. As far as the regional situation, we see that Bharat Biotech is is considered better vaccine than Sinopharm and the Sputnik 5 and even AstraZeneca. But the issue is that, and it's also costing far less than the other three that I have shared. But since India is giving free vaccine to Sri Lanka and Nepal and the other countries, but we are not even able to purchase some better vaccines from India due to the reasons. I think it's obvious. Very recently, a survey was conducted in Pakistan that says that 49% people have already refused the use of vaccines in the coming days, which is quite unfortunate. Even the new vaccine that has come, Sinopharm, was not used by many of the health workers. Only in my city, Islamabad, 34 health workers have used this vaccine. So you can imagine the rate of going for the vaccines is very, very low. As far as the democracy and the civic space is concerned, the situation of Pakistan was never positive. Almost half of its time since independence we have spent under dictatorial regime, but now this is the second term that the consecutive second term, in fact, that there is a democratic transition in Pakistan. However, as far as the recent democracy index 2020, Pakistan is placed as 105th country, and we are, as Anselmo has already mentioned, that Pakistan is in hybrid regime.
Yeah, please wrap up. in 1 minute.
Okay, so Pakistan is actually not active in the open government partnership. So you can imagine the level of democracy. Even for the last 10 years, the least important, the most important and the least tier of the democracy, which is local government, is not active in Pakistan. They are not functional. As far as the civic spaces are concerned, Pakistan is partly free. The civil society is evolving. We have been facing lots of problems in the freedom of assembly, freedom of expression. The majority of the media people, they are also facing challenges in Pakistan.
Yeah, please stop, please.
Sorry?
We have to close. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but you can also refer to the JS presentations. You can download materials in the Dropbox and Google link there. So we would like to hear the comments from Mr. Ohashi, who is a long-term researcher in South Asian countries. Ohashi-san, please briefly make your comments.
Yeah, I don't know how long do I have, but anyhow, I just ask some comment or question, which might be common to the most of the people, but you don't need to reply to the all question which I'm showing to you. Whatever question you want answer, just please. So this is a kind of table which is almost like the one which Anselmo showed me. What is the situation of the COVID of each South Asian countries. So it's apparently, you see, if it is a fatality rate, Pakistan is a bit higher, but you see, Japan is 1.7%, world 2.2%, but South Asia in average 1.5%. So that means, apparently, South Asian people, except Pakistan, but especially like Sri Lanka or Nepal, really enjoying the less fatality rate. So what do you think this is because of DNA or immune system, or quality of data, or quality of medical care? What is the main cause? Number two, my comment is that, in South Asia, often people say that this COVID-19 is a disease of the rich people or clean people, not dwellers in slum or refugee camps. Apparently, like Rohingya refugee camp, rate of the disease or COVID-19 is apparently much less, but of course we cannot really believe it. So do you think that this COVID-19 is a sick of certain people, or every people has same danger? Number three comment is that many people has mentioned this vaccination has started, but some of you also mentioned that when your government gives some subsidies to all the people during the lockdown, it could not reach properly. So do you think this time this inoculation, vaccination will reach to the almost all people equally, or a large segment of the people may be left behind? If it is someone will be left behind, who will be remain behind, and what's the cause of those, and what CSO react to that? Next point is that you also mentioned that like Pakistan, you get vaccine from China, Russia, but you cannot get from in India. So because to avoid those so-called vaccine nationalism, UN system has invented international cooperation system called ACT Accelerator, or its COVAX facilities. Do you think these facilities are satisfactorily working for your country? But I don't think most of you expressed your unsatisfactory situations. You cannot have a scope when and how many you can buy enough number of the vaccine for your people. So maybe this is maybe very important issue of the human rights and equity. And last comment, this one is news yesterday or day before yesterday. you know, in South Africa and India has been proposing to the suspension of the intellectual property right for a temporary basis too, because so that every country can deal with control of this pandemic stricter and better. Do you agree with that, or CSO should agree with that? I think we should agree. That's my feeling. That's my comment. Thank you very much. Over.
Thank you, Hassan. As we are running out of time, we go straight to the part B, welcoming Southeast and Northeast and Central Asian countries. The first presenter is Lee Savanna from Cambodia. Savanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Aoi. My name is Savanna, and I represent the Cooperation Committee for Cambodia. And I'm pleased to join the online talk show Democracy Forum. In fact, Cambodia is one of the successful countries in terms of combating the COVID-19 pandemics in Southeast Asia. As you can see, the number of cases is just only 456 cases, and there is no cases of death. And of course, Cambodia also play an important role to provide humanitarian support as well. As in February 2020, Cambodia government allowed Amsterdam, a European cruise ship, to allow to dock in the Sihanoukville province after being turned away by 5 countries. And of course, Cambodia government build good partnership with World Health Organizations and other development agency in order to provide financial support to access those who need help the most, especially the most vulnerable one. And of course, Cambodia government also restricts on the freedoms of movement and practicing social distancing in the whole process of the combating of the COVID-19. But good news is that Cambodia people are really aware of the bad impacts of the COVID-19. So that's why they really support the government measure in terms of restriction the freedoms of movement and to practice social distancing. And as you can see in the national transmission assessment, right now, Cambodia has been conducting testing for approximately 33,000 tests, and we provide 13,000 public hospital beds to support those get positive of the COVID-19. And there is no there is no case of death, and in fact, most of the cases of the COVID-19 in Cambodia are imported case, and for 28 days, Cambodia reported 84 cases imported case from other country. And of course, in Cambodia, widespread community transmissions of the COVID-19 did not happen. And Cambodia governments also strengthened the public health measure, especially at the international airport, and provisions of health information, especially to international travelers. And the governments also provide health surveillance and the quick response systems in order to detect the COVID-19 pandemic. And Cambodia governments also cut the national expense to save roughly 400 million of national budget to coping with the COVID-19. Of course, Cambodia remained in stage 1 of the outbreak, and the government has established the National Committee to combat the COVID-19. And this committee play an important role to design national policy and strategy to prevent the COVID-19 pandemic. And of course, the government applies strict measures in 3 different fronts. One, they prevent the imported case into Cambodia, and second one is to preventing local transmission within the Cambodian people. And last but not least is about treating the COVID-19 infected patient. And the governments also apply the testing strategy and the contact tracing systems in place, and also build the capacity of the quarantine implementation. And at the same time, it also promotes risk communication and community engagement by providing timely message to the people, to the public through TV, radio, and social medias about the negative impacts of the COVID-19. Of course, Cambodian people saw high awareness, yeah. Of course, the economic slowdown due to the COVID-19 has resulted in reduction of income from all sources among both rural and urban households. And the governments also initiate a plan to support the poor household, especially to provide a social protection scheme to them. These are the most impacted sectors. One is informal worker. Second one is the most vulnerable groups, and another one is garment worker. They are the most impacted people by the COVID-19. And in terms of human rights, of course, even the fact that Cambodia is successful in terms of combating with the COVID-19, but the government have as civil society organization expressed concern about the restriction environment and the curtailments of the freedoms of expression for Cambodian citizens. And the governments also apply the law on association and non-governmental organization in order to restrict civic space and democratic development in Cambodia. Another issue that I would like to address is that the impacts of the COVID-19 on migrant workers. Well, Thailand is home to approximately 1.2 million migrant workers, and they are reported of the Cambodian migrant workers of the COVID-19, and they travel across the border. So Cambodia governments have asked migrant workers to stay in Thailand, not to return into Cambodia. But right now we have like 82 cases involving the returnee from Thailand. And the government support the border province, including the high-level visit and on-site support from a national hospital to provincial hospital and quarantine facility. And
One of these finish your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Aoi.
Thank you for your questions. We have 3 more presenters. Ted from Singapore, the floor is yours. In 3 minutes, please.
So, yeah, sorry. Okay, I hope you can see me and hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, hi. Thank you very much, Aoi and JANIC, for inviting me to the Tokyo Democracy Forum. I'm Ted. I'm from Singapore. My organization is called Think Center. We are a small human rights group here in the country. So I don't really have the PowerPoint to share, but I'll just respond to the few key questions that were asked. The first one is like judging from the results, what are the key factors affecting the impact of COVID-19 on our lives and human rights? So in Singapore, right? So I'll just briefly update about the cases that we are facing now. And if you hear Anselmo's presentation earlier, we actually have we are considered to be performing quite well relatively. So we have 59,800 confirmed cases just of yesterday, but out of this, actually only 150 cases are considered active. And of these 150 cases, 32 are in hospital and 1 is in the ICU. So the majority is 59,600 plus people are discharged or recovered. So these numbers are from starting way back in last year, January to now. And what we are facing now is actually the new daily cases that are being reported are mostly imported. Because Singapore has relaxed the travel restrictions to a certain extent since October last year. So the people there are people coming in, and they are coming in mainly for work and business purposes. So we don't have tourists coming in on that. And I'll just quickly go on to, yeah. Okay, so I want to qualify about why Singapore seems to be performing so well in terms of managing the impact. All right. One qualification is that we are actually a very small country. We are an island nation, and our total land size, including all the small islands, is about 700, slightly more than 700 square kilometers. And if you compare that with Tokyo, Tokyo is much bigger. It's 2,194 square kilometers. So you just have to understand that Singapore is a very small country. So everything is more compressed and it's more easily controlled. We are, as I said, we are an island nation. We only have 2 land crossings with Malaysia. One is the causeway, and another one is the bridge. And so most people come in through by air, and we have a lot shipping. But so this is just to give you the context of why Singapore seems to be doing so well. It's a small place, and is easily controlled, right? And right. So for us here, what really works is because of the government's response and the people's attitude or reaction to the government's response. So one key factor is the timely sharing of information and update to the public by the government. So on that count, I do really credit our government for doing that. But then again, the pre-existing inequalities before COVID has really determined how people experience the pandemic. And I'll just focus on 2 subgroups here. One is the migrant workers, and the other one is the low-income families and or earners in Singapore. So for migrant workers, they actually constitute a very big part of our workforce. They are almost 1/3 of our workforce, of over about 3 million plus. So and the migrant workers who are working in the manual intensive sectors is about 900,000+, and this includes about 250,000+ workers who are domestic workers, and the rest are in construction, marine, and other services. So for COVID-19 in Singapore, actually the biggest victims are actually the migrant workers, because out of all the 50,000 something over confirmed cases last year to now, 54,500 of them were tested positive. This are confirmed through the PCR test, which is the de facto test that is recognized by the World Health Organization. But actually, there were more workers who were confirmed to have past infections. This will confirm through the blood test, And okay, to wrap up, sorry. Yeah, so in terms of the migrant workers, they are the biggest victims. So they have the they still face more restrictions than compared to the rest of us here. And the other one is the low income earners, who for many of them, they face multiple insecurities already before COVID, but the COVID really has hit them hard. And the kind of jobs that they were working were really low wage. And when COVID hit, many of them lost those jobs, or they saw more drastic reduction in those income. And they have no access to other kinds of stable job. And effectively, Singapore do not have a very good or systematic social protection. So this is why they are facing this kind of situation. So, and in terms of civic rights, human rights, I would say that the human rights and SDG framework has been a good way to understand the impact on how we experience the pandemic, especially for the different vulnerable groups. But but how useful they can be to push our government to reform the policies that can actually mitigate the impact on the vulnerable groups remains to be seen, because right now they remain more focused, the government is more keen on trying to keep the economy afloat, trying to keep the economy open and running, and more of the resources are directed to businesses rather than direct aid to people, right? So, but having said that, I hope we can agree that it remains human rights and SDGs remains an important framework for the political discourse and to articulate the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. But I actually have more things prepared in the PowerPoint, but if you are interested to see the more final issues, please refer to the presentation. So with that, I'll give my time to the next presenter. Are we, please?
Indicated. So the next presenter is Nurjamal Iminova from Kazakhstan. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. It's a great honor for me to speak at the Tokyo Democratic Forum. I represent ARGO and Chirac Association of Women with Disabilities, and I'll try to be brief. Actually, concerning the COVID situation in Kazakhstan, unfortunately, we have one of the highest rates in Central Asia region in terms of confirmed cases. And the number of confirmed cases as of by the end of January came to 16,267 cases, and the number of deaths constituted 2,530. And actually, as of now, we can see that the situation with COVID-19 is stable in comparison with the previous period. We have only Pavlodar Oblast, which is marked as a red zone. The rest of the regions and oblasts are yellow zone, and it's quite under control of the state. Speaking about COVID-19 and civil freedom, first of all, I would mention the Civicus, Civic Space Monitoring, which ranked Kazakhstan as obstructed. And also during the COVID-19 pandemic, there was an attempt, and the government tried to silence the NGOs and the other bloggers and media representatives, and Human Rights Watch named Kazakhstan one of the countries where the situation with freedom of speech has drastically deteriorated during this period. And also we had elections during this time, and the new resolution of the Central Elections Commission, they referred to the COVID-19 situation as a pretext to limit them, to restrict the independent observers. Speaking about the freedom of association, there was a challenge also for NGOs. At least 15 NGOs were notified that they had allegedly violated the tax code, and their activities should be frozen, suspended for certain period of time. And also some of organizations were heavily fined. But as of start of February, we can say that the situation improved, and the government canceled the fines and allowed the NGOs to resume their activities. Regarding freedom of assembly, following the parliamentary elections in January, we observed that demonstrators were detained, and concerted measures there was to prevent the domestic election observers from monitoring. And also in Kazakhstan, during this period, there was a draft law on public control introduced by the Ministry of Information and Social development. Actually, the aim of this law to prevent the corruption at local and national levels, but independent NGO activists and civil society activists, they say that this law, the draft law, contains certain provisions that can adversely affect NGO activities and overall CSO operational environment. The Democracy Index 2020, they marked Kazakhstan as there is a dictatorship regime, and there is it was ranked like 3.14 between Zimbabwe and Congo. Also, speaking about vaccination, the right to health, in Kazakhstan, currently 2 options for people to be vaccinated. Kazakhstan invented its own vaccine called Kaz-COVID-in, and also it's going to produce, together with Russia, the Sputnik 5 vaccine. And actually 2 million doses of vaccine is planned to produce shortly. And then in February, we can observe that health workers, teachers, police officers, and social workers, they were vaccinated on a free basis. Then there was a deterioration of situation with the domestic violence against women during this period, and the victims, they really suffer, and there is a big discussion, public discussion on the introduction of the amendments to the law on domestic against domestic violence. And actually, there are certain patriarchal views prevail in this discussion. And representation of women in the parliament as a result of the parliamentary elections also remained the same, notwithstanding the fact that the president introduced 30% quotas for youth and women. And recommendations for government actually, the COVID-19 pandemic during this time cannot be used to actually, there shouldn't be any restrictive measures. The measures should be legitimate and proportionate and transparent, and not to hamper the effective exercise and protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. And it's very important to ensure gender equality at decision-making levels, and especially women with disabilities who face double discrimination on the basis of disability and gender. And also to ensure the equal access to vaccine to all vulnerable groups of population during this period. And also to criminalize domestic violence as a standalone offense, and to ensure that criminal sanctions against the perpetrators should be applied. And also thank you, I'm wrapping up actually. And also it's very important to ensure a free and safe environment for bloggers, researchers, and independent journalists, as well as NGO civil society leaders, to exercise the freedom of expression. And it's very important also to acknowledge and support civil society in combating COVID-19 pandemic. And for international organizations, we would recommend to expand technical and knowledge support for CSOs dealing with SDG 16 issues, to unleash programs aimed at combating domestic violence against women, and to support independent people of independent professions like bloggers, researchers, civil society activists, exercising their right to freedom of expression, and to create more platforms to bring together various actors dealing with human rights and SDGs 16. Thank you very much for your attention, Julie.
Thank you, Nurjamal. Since time is running out, we'll hear Haruna's presentation tomorrow. So to close today's sessions, we hear comments from Akio Takane, who is a leading researcher on ODA and SDGs and COVID-19. Thank you.
Okay. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the presentations. I will try to be very quick, but actually there were 3 presentations. Unfortunately, the presentation of Japan by Japan is extended to tomorrow, but the countries in this part are really diverse geographically, socioeconomically, historically, and also the situation of civic space. So I'll just name 3 issues, and also I'll give just one additional information. The first thing is that there are so many things around COVID-19 that are unknown, or views are divided even among experts. For example, such as why infections and death rates are much lower in Asia compared to Europe and North America. There were many hypotheses like the BCG or whatsoever, but none of them are proven. And also one of the fundamental discussion here in Japan about our future is whether we should go with corona or we should try to distinguish corona. This is really divided among experts. And then there are concerns about safety and effectiveness of masks and vaccines. So of course, the challenge for us is how can we get involved in this discussion? So of course, of course, one issue is lack of information and also open discussion. And of course, we should have freedom of expression, but a contradiction here is how to prevent fraud information. The second point is that each country has its own history of authoritarian rule or sad history. So, and of course, a crisis is always used by political leaders to closing civic space. So what can we learn from our historical experiences, different historical experiences? The second point I want to raise. So third, sorry, it doesn't work. Third, challenges for CSOs. Of course, one issue is raising awareness on vulnerable people. I think migrant workers were the issue of migrant workers was raised by Sobana and Ted, and also women and girls by Nurjamal, and also various groups. And also, of course, there are other health issues that must be forgotten. Of course, we shouldn't forget about economy and education. So we need to address these issues. And also, the last 2 points, this is related to inward-lookingness. So that's happening in different contexts, but have some similarities across the countries. So how should we respond to this is another challenge for CSOs. So I'll give you one information. There is an ongoing discussion on OECD DAC on CSO partnership, and they will agree on either a recommendation or a guidance. It will be launched in June, as far as I know. So let's see what we will see. But what I have heard is that the document will include paragraphs regarding civic space and CSO enabling environment. So I talked very fast, and so sorry that my presentation was fragmented, but I'll stop here. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Akira, for your full comments on it. So sadly, we do not have much time to discuss, but we have the next session tomorrow at the same time, noon at Bangkok time. So we will have a much more fruitful discussion for tomorrow. And thank you for participating for day 1 of Tokyo Democracy Forum. We will see you tomorrow. Stay tuned.